Don't.
Okay,
Recording.
this is these are little. so
They're
my friend,
so cute.
so my friend Kyle Kelly. These are popular right now. They're like a little button presser. They like press the button on the ATM with this thing, this little part. Uh,
Oh.
and then this thing is to like open the door at 7-Eleven or wherever, so you don't have to touch things. Um, so my friend Kyle made like designed one to be laser cut, and he has a laser cutter and I have a laser cutter, so he sent me the file, and so I added a really ridiculous cat face to mine because it needs.
They're great. It looks like you could stick them on your keychain.
Yeah, it's got a little keychain hole.
Oh my god. How many colors are there?
Right now there's 3, but I just ordered a big sheet of neon green so that we have more absurd cat colors. This
I,
looks really super neon.
I like that. Those are really cool.
So, so that's I'm making those because I made myself one, and I wasn't gonna like try and profit off of pandemic shit, but I made one for myself and showed it on Facebook, and people are like, I want one of those things, so I'm selling them for $5. And you can buy them from me if you hit me up on Facebook or whatever.
And I know I was out and about the other day, and I was just thinking about like, going to the grocery store and then looking at the line in front of me, and just like all those people just touched the debit machine.
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Because I almost had a panic attack at the grocery store the other day too. So then this was like, I was like, I need one of these.
Yeah. I mean, because I think they're great. I think they're great, and I'm glad you showed them. Well, what else are you working on?
Okay, I have other stuff on my desk. This is. I wasn't gonna show this, but this just happens to be on my desk. That's So I guess the Romans used to wear these as protective amulets or something.
Wait,
But they
what?
were, yeah, they were, this particular creature with the winged penis would protect you from illness. So I drew that recently.
I think those need to be on t-shirts. It's like protective amulet t-shirts, and those who know will know. They remind me of your sushis.
Little dick, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you started with those. I think it's really important to talk to artists about like what we're doing during this time. I know there's a lot of pressure to kind of perform, and also to entertain and all these other things. And then a lot of us, especially now for those of us who like are in gig culture and stuff, like we're losing our jobs and have to very quickly figure out other ways to make money. And those are very real things in the kind of economy we live in, right? So
Yeah,
I
God,
mean,
it's like the forever balance that I'm always trying to strike, which is just it's harder right now.
yeah. How so?
So when the stay-at-home orders first started, um, I was like, okay, I have to do something, and then so I started doing like a watch me paint, sort of like Bob Ross painting hour thing, but it was really just painting and music because I don't have a cool voice like Bob Ross.
Well, and
But
you were using music from a lot of really great local musicians, right?
yeah, so I was inspired to do something, but I didn't really know what the something was because it was sort of all wrapped in with, okay, well, I can stick my Venmo on here and then like maybe I can make some money from doing this, but I don't know. So what often happens with me is that like I do something that's not enough, just something that I want to do randomly that has nothing to do with money. And then I abandon it because I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I know there's degrees of this where people can be like, well, this is mostly for me, and then some about money. But I'm like, so I'm the worst at that. Where if like there's any amount of like there's money involved in this, like that I just like hate the project
Yeah.
immediately.
I think a lot of us are like that, because the money isn't why we do what we do.
Yeah.
So how I know that you have overcome that in multiple instances, like, and I know it's a struggle each time, but how do you reconcile that?
Uh, by being really fucking stubborn and just going like I just don't care how fucking broke I am right now. I'm just like, I don't know. It's getting to a point where it's gonna get kind of rough, but I can't. I have a hard time staying inspired when like the yeah. Um, I don't know. Like the cat grabber things, it was like the fun part of the making it was already pretty much done, right? And
Right.
money had nothing to do with it because I hadn't even really thought about it. I was just like, oh yeah, people might want these, but I don't want to make them. I just want to make me.
Yeah.
But then that made it fun. I was just like, it was, you know, in France, if you go to art school in France,
Yeah.
I guess the government gives you some kind of stipend to be an artist,
Right.
uh, and
Oh.
right, like that, and it makes so much sense, and like that like you just have this money to just room to create. So I don't know.
Right.
So giving myself room to create is the thing. So I made this. So okay, I have made maybe one tiny comic book in my whole life.
I have
And
mine.
yes, uh, because comic books are like a lot of drawings all together, and it's so easy to burn out and just like. So I just the comic books is just usually not a thing that I do because I'm not motivated by money. So you could throw a bunch of money at me and go like make a comic book, and I'd still be like, I can't do
But what prompted you to do this
that.
one? And
But
it's
anyway,
also
here's
like really beautiful too. Like really
thank you.
beautiful. Yeah. The words and the drawing.
So
Um, I
so
want to
Ryan.
show.
Oh
I
yeah.
I have mine right here. Oh, can't
Oh,
see
it's
it.
disintegrating. Here, I'll
Try to
close it.
see it.
Okay. So this is the cover. Okay, I'm backwards, so it's hard to. Yeah. Okay. So Ryan Fu wrote this thing on Facebook, like a few weeks ago, and it was just this inspired vision of the future based on like what's going on right now and what could happen if we were, good to each other. And so I really loved it, and it resonated super hard. So I illustrated it, and I made it into this little mini mini zine deal. Um, and I wheat pasted a poster sized version of it onto Mutiny, where I had painted another mural, which like yeah, okay, backstory. So
Yeah.
when Mutiny had to board up their windows, they opened up like a little to-go window off to the side, but their inside is closed. So they boarded up the whole outside of the windows, and they got some artists to paint stuff. Um, so I painted some big ridiculous pink cats and a Buckminster Fuller quote that I really like, and
Do you
then yeah.
happen to have one of those posters there? I have mine right to the right, but it's
Oh, I
I'm afraid it'll disintegrate in my screen.
no, I got it. I got it because I'm also trying to make a little bit of money by selling these. So if people want them, they're reasonably
Yep.
priced. Yeah.
Brad.
Okay, now I've promoted all of the things that I'm doing. I'm gonna show this one again though. It's important.
Health. That's real. It's so real all the time, and especially now, in this very interesting novel time. um Novel, that word that all the media is throwing around, which you can't really replace it. It's definitely a first for us.
this unprecedented novel. I just need a word salad of like that all the news stations say about whatever this time is.
I know that's actually a really good exercise. Like, I write a lot of poetry, and word banks are amazing because, like, you just collect all these disparate words. Sometimes words you're maybe unclear about or whatever, or words. I like irony. So, like, I like to treat some words with irony. So I might treat novel with some irony. Anyway, you collect this word bank and then you just kind of improvise from there. And it's a fun exercise into your unconscious.
Oh, how
Like
cool.
remix it a little bit. um one of the things I want to talk about is like you seem to really thrive on community and also collaboration in that community. And I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about like the importance of community, partially because for me this is kind of new. I used to move around a lot, and being part of Denver community has become very important. And also, it's still pretty new in certain ways. So I want to talk with you about that because you're like heavily steeped in it and also loyal. I feel like to the communities that you work in.
I try to be. Geez, that's a hard question.
I ask all the hard questions.
Yeah. Um, I think uh, I think one part of it is like that chosen family thing where
Mhm.
like, you know, like I grew up without a model that I really thrived in. So then figuring that out later in life and then, how that works, it becomes a broader thing. And then and then I have a whole lot of interest and I gravitate towards like the dynamics of like support and what that looks like, because when you're trying to figure that out in your own life, then it extends to what you're seeing in your communities and stuff. I don't know, there's a point in my life where I was just, I love South Broadway, but like I loved South Broadway because it was just a strip of bars, and I would just go chill at the bars all day. And well, not all day. I wasn't like an alcoholic, but it was like the weekend bender thing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and just that's so unsatisfying. And then and then once I stop, like I haven't drank in just a few years now, and just the having to look for like what do you do with yourself now, and
Mhm.
finding out that there is a community that's thriving just under the surface if you stop and look and like allow yourself to be to listen more, you know.
Right.
Because there's something about like that drinking culture where you just like you're not really paying attention, you're just like wanting to be entertained. um and yeah, I don't know. And then just finding like support in similar stories and people that are like me, whatever, that are
Mm.
just like all part of that. And especially like art, it's how that extends into the art community, and we're all kind of like exiled weirdos in a sense. And but then still needing connection and it just looking different, and then being able to create that. and
Yeah.
then and then also there's like my interest right now in doing community work is that like the community is really powerful, and because of what's going on in a larger, the pandemic bullshit and what's going on with the government and everything else, is like we can the veil is very thin. and and it's like we can see each other right now, and like we can just go like, here, I can help you, and like we can help each other, and we can like build each other up, and we can do fucking something different. And I don't think we get many chances like this. And
Right.
maybe we don't, maybe nothing fucking happens from this and we go back to a terrible normal, but the chance is there. And so yeah,
Yeah.
so that feels like that's where my energy should be.
I feel like it is from what I'm seeing. What are the things that you feel like that you would like to share are keeping you from being in that space?
I think just like everybody else, it's fucking money and like looming stuff. Like, and people who are like, you know, stuck at they can't like. I'm trying to find the right word so it doesn't sound off. People who are, you know, at home with their kids and working, and you know, like I'm about to have Ada here, and like, and my focus becomes Ada at that point, and then you
Yeah.
can't be generating any income to survive, and like
Yeah.
I I already forgot what the beginning of that question was.
I might have also, but I think it went in a very good direction.
Okay.
Because like I think a lot of us are beating ourselves up for not being able to balance, you know, like
Right.
a certain way of being that we've been sold, which what
Yeah.
it comes down to.
Well, it's like the first off, you have like women's unpaid labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, since no one acknowledges that largely, then like something like this happens, and then it's like, oh fuck, now lots of people have to experience this. uh Suddenly are we going to talk about it? Like,
Yeah,
because shit is breaking because y'all didn't talk about it. Like,
right. We didn't talk about it, and I feel like whatever talks were happening in their little niches didn't reach the people who really needed it. I feel
yeah.
like, which is pretty typical of this kind of construct. I feel like.
Yeah, and then I read stuff about men like dealing with like their kids at home and not knowing what the fuck to do and how to work at the same time. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It must be so hard for you. Oh yeah, not that bad, but you know.
Yeah, I want to say I get that, and I don't entirely. I mean, I'm filling my apartment up with plants because I don't even have pets, you know. And I'm figuring out like what kind of plants will survive in like a garden level space. So in that respects, I have it pretty easy. Like when I'm just at home, I can be as ADD as I want, and I can just wander from room to room and do parts of things until they're done, etc. You know, and I don't have, you know, like someone I'm taking care of. It's just me.
Yeah.
I can be irresponsible and play Animal Crossing for 7 hours if I'm feeling overwhelmed with everything else, and no one else is going to pay for that but me, you know. Um,
I mean, if you feel really guilty sometime, I can just put you on a Zoom with Ada for like an hour.
you're like that would give me an hour to work. Or no, I could probably try to, but I think it would. All I have is this rectangle. It'd be pretty challenging.
No, it's like, I'm messing with you. Although
Well,
Ada would love to say hello to you.
yeah, I would. We should arrange that. I would really like that. Um, well, the second part of that, the first part was like just like community, the importance of community. And I wanted to talk about the collaboration part. I've definitely been part of some of that, and just, you know, even with the little the cat button pusher things, like it's often a collaboration, and I feel like those are the things that maybe, from what I've seen, those might be some of the things that light you up, like maybe top 3 or 4.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, but even before this, I work by myself most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I need connection. But I don't. But I'm kind of like antisocial in a way that like I don't hang out with people like I think people normally hang out with people. Like, I don't know. I have
Well,
little blips of social interaction, but like I don't have as much as most people. So I think I get that connection from doing projects like this, you know? Like uh like we had I had a Zoom hangout with a couple friends, and then like Kyle was showing his things, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool! Send me the file," kind of thing. It's
Very
important.
cool. Yeah. Well, I feel like you've created a lot of those kinds of spaces too, where people who normally just work by themselves can get together and work by themselves.
Yeah, right.
And have the tools and support and coffee that they need.
Yes, right. I think it'd be really hard for me to like sit and work alongside someone,
Mm,
like in an environment like that. But it's like
yeah.
where you have like, here's a piece of something. Now it's your turn. Like you ever play? I'm sure I've played Immaculate Cadaver, Exquisite Corpse with
Yep.
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is super fun to me.
It's super fun to me too. And I do it a lot in a bunch of different ways with writing, because, we all have our own patterns that we get stuck in. And it is really fun to see what happens, sometimes really scary, to see what happens when you break out of that. And so that's one great example of just like that collaborative kind of community effort, and just being like, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see.
Yeah,
And then we'll go from there.
yeah. It's also that like exercise in just being absurd that like we all need every once in a while
Absolutely.
to
Yeah,
reset.
absolutely. Um, and I know we talk about this in another chat, but I just want to talk about uh, you know the importance of play, because I mean I think a lot of us are like, I gotta do this work and doing it to death. I'm working.
Mhm. Yeah, no, we get raised to be little production machines, and we gotta break that shit. And like
How?
how constantly reminding ourselves that we're not machines, and well, we are machines, but that we can allow play in our lives, and
And
and actually actively making space for it, which is fucking hard. And it
yeah,
feels ridiculous to be like, I need to make time to play today. Like that sounds so stupid when you say it to yourself. like it's supposed to just happen naturally or whatever. But like people say that about like creativity too. They're like, oh, it's supposed to just like pop spontaneously out of you, but like you have to like
yeah,
look at it and like nurture it and stuff. And like there's bounds and um ways to do that with everything, I guess.
yeah. I totally agree with that. That's one of the first conversations I have with my students is, like that question of what is creativity? Who's creative, right? And a lot of folks in tech fields and stuff think that they are not creative people because they don't output in a certain way or think a certain way. And then when I describe a couple of theories of what the creative process is and how you actually have to make time and space for it, at least half the class gets a light bulb and they're like, holy cats, this is something I can do. This is actually something I do, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
we talk about it like it's magic. Like same thing with
yeah,
like anything art is just like people go like, "Oh, you're just so talented, creative." Like those are things that like I practiced.
right.
like the talent isn't inherent. I think anybody can fucking draw and be creative. They just do it, and then yeah. I keep
I
getting
know.
distracted. There's a cat behind me.
Is it Che or Buran?
Yeah, hold on. Hey, buddy.
Buran! Your cat's like, what?
He's been on a few Zoom meetings lately.
Nice.
Yeah, I get to show him off finally.
There was something else. Oh, I wanted a reminder of that book you told me about. The author was talking about like literally needing to actively reclaim our headspace in a time of social media and
Oh yeah, yeah. The author's name escapes me, but it was Digital Minimalism is one of them,
right.
and um, he had another really popular one that escapes me, but yeah, that was a good book. I mean, I don't know if I like follow it completely, but the
Mhm.
idea was like to stop doing pretty much everything on your phone or whatever uh, for a little while, just to see what you actually need to break like that addictive cycle, and
Right.
then yeah, and that's yeah, that I mean that totally applies. Like I get sucked into Facebook so easy if I don't like stop myself. Um,
I'm like,
but yeah,
word.
just being aware of like what's addictive and what's not day
Right.
to day. Like I feel like moving into whatever this age is, like we just have to, because we're just constantly being bombarded with stuff that's not healthy. I mean, I don't know if I ranted about this on the last one, but like I used to be a UX designer, and so user experience designer, and I I hated that job, um, because a lot of what I was learning, I was excited to like this was going to be my career, right? And what I
Right.
was learning about that field was that it's all like trickery and manipulation, and
Hmm.
like everything that you look at on any major website is designed to hook you. Like you're like we would like do like eye tracking and stuff and make like heat maps of like where people
Oh
are
wow.
looking to like track like where I'm going to look on the screen. Like I'm going to hit here first and I'm going to hit here, and like why are they not clicking on this thing and buying this thing? Well, let's make it so that they do. Like and there's just stuff behind like like Instagram, when you first load up your feed, like you get the little dots, and it takes a minute for things to load. It doesn't actually take that long to load. That's a trick based on what we know about slot machines.
Right.
Like that
Ooh.
anticipation makes you want it more. And there's so many little things like that that are just fucking embedded in it, and that we don't know, and we don't know until we fucking like cut it out and break the addiction for a minute. Because
Right.
there's always that draw of like where people go like, I'm gonna take a Facebook break for a week, and then it's really fucking hard at first.
Yeah.
Because yeah, so I don't know.
What do they call that? It's like something engineering, social engineering, or like like I
uh
forget.
I mean, social engineering is kind of something different, but
Okay.
uh I'm not sure what the term would be, but it's gross. And
Yeah.
there's all kinds of smarter people with like, who are sitting on like ethics committees, like trying to figure out how to make the web better.
Yeah.
Um, but
For
yeah,
specific aims, probably.
but in the meantime, it's completely unchecked, and so like we have to be responsible for ourselves and not sink into it.
Um, I don't know if you would know, but like, I mean, that book that we just talked about was a really good start. I was gonna look it up real quick. Um, Digital Minimalism, because it's escaping my brain right now too. But I read that, and I read one of his other books and found them very, very helpful. Cal Newport was the
Oh
author,
yeah, that's right.
and it's awesome when you have dead time. And Deep Work was the other one that I read.
Right,
Um,
right, yeah. Yeah, that one's also good.
yeah, and he in that he talks about like like literally reclaiming your headspace and why it's important for doing pretty much any kind of work, creative work in tech. You need those spaces to be able to problem solve. And a lot of
Mhm.
workspaces, and of course our society doesn't really you know supply for that. It's almost like it's purposefully engineered for us not to go that deep. Um, which is interesting. Anyway, that's going real deep, probably over my head to talk about, but it is something I do think about quite often. I don't know. What else do you want to add? Anything else you want to add?
I don't
I think I've hounded you enough with hard questions.
know. You're good. I don't think I have anything else really.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Nothing?
I got nothing.
Well, I know we do it in the other video, but I definitely want you to let folks know where they can find you and how they can support you if they want.
I have a Patreon. So if you would like a monthly thing, I send something about once a month. So this last month I sent out these prints along with the zine. Um, and then some months I send stickers and stuff, or just random things that I make that are fun. And the Patreon allows me to be just creative and not have to do things for any one purpose. So yes, please support me in doing that. Absent-minded creating whatever you call it. Okay, so that's patreon.com/Spux, S-P-U-X. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Spuxo, S-P-U-X-O. And then my website where you can buy prints and whatnot is ihate.art.
Which is like the best website name ever. All right, I'm gonna close up this talk and thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.